4, 3, 2, 1.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it. It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Toss to White. The Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his fifth. What a comeback.
Welcome to 2 hours of sports and nothing but sports.
Mandel will hold it. Now they've officially made it 57 yards.
Number 8 block kick can go the other way, too. He's got to be careful and get it up.
On the way. No, returned by Chris Davis. Davis goes left. Davis gets a block. Davis has another block. Chris Davis. No flags. Touchdown, Auburn.
Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Durant, back to Curry, dancing on Batum, over the double team. Oh! It's a golden dagger! Right! Curry, unconscious in the fourth.
And now the Rad Network presents the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
We're going to start with an email here. Came into ras@theradnetwork.com. It's from Aaron. We were talking yesterday about going to games, going to live events, the cost of going to games. And we already had done the report earlier in the year about the average cost of a Major League Baseball game for a family of 4. And that's what got Aaron to write in saying, Rob brought up that the A's are the third highest priced games to go to. I'm a little confused by that. We're going in a couple Fridays. We only paid $155 for 2 tickets. And we're in the first row, just beyond first base, in a right field. These are resale seats, which I would have assumed were more expensive than had we got them the regular way. We aren't even regular fans of either team that'll be playing. We're literally going because of how reasonably priced it was. We plan on getting a couple hot dogs and beers, which looks like it'll run another $50 or so. So yeah, Aaron, a couple of things there you assumed, always bad. You know, that makes an ass out of you and me. And resale seats. So resale seats is not what they use. This was bookies.com. They do their annual list every year. When they came up with the average cost of a Major League Baseball game for a family of 4 in 2026, because resale seats are so flexible and fluctuated, and it's based entirely on who has the seats and are they getting nervous because even the ODAs are off to a pretty good start. They want to just sell their tickets. They want to get rid of their tickets, so they might lower the prices. The way that they did this was they ranked all 30 ballparks by the cost of 4 tickets, the cheapest available across all the home games by average. But that's the team sale price. And then they did a parking lot pass, beers, 2 sodas, 4 hot dogs, nothing else. No peanuts, no cotton candy, no merchandise. Dodgers number 1, Red Sox number 2, A's number 3. Average cost for a family of 4, $324. It is a little jarring to me that you only paid $155 for 2 tickets. Even on the that's still a lot of money. I know they're great seats, front row and all that. That's the cost. This is what we were talking about yesterday, Steve. That's the cost of going to live events these days.
Yes, it is. And the question that I would ask is, do the A's use the flex pricing? If he's going this weekend, he's got the A's at home against the White Sox. If I own season tickets, that's one of the series I would be moving and selling online. Or are the A's ticket prices fixed so they don't adjust it? You know, Yankees come to town. I'm not sure he's going to get that front row for $150, or the Red Sox, or, you know, the Mariners, or one of those teams.
Well, see, there's so many things we don't know. And I'm not blaming Aaron. He just doesn't. Resale seats, well, that could be StubHub. That could be any number of sources where he's getting them online. And he said he's going in a couple of Fridays. So is he going to see, let's see, the White Sox is this weekend. Let's see what we got here. White Sox this weekend. He might be going to see Cleveland on Friday, May 1st. And again, this is the look with resale seats. I've resold seats. Sometimes You're just desperate to get money. You just want cash. So you lower your seats way down. So there's so many things we don't know about what it doesn't change the beginning report of the season where they're using average ticket sales throughout the year that the team was charging to get in. Resale market changes everything. I'm glad you're going. I'm glad you're excited to go, and I'm glad you got great seats. Enjoy yourself. It's still very expensive.
And I hope he has a great time. I mean, I love to hear the fans coming out. Sacramento, one of those cities I would love for them to consider expansion. I would like to see the A's stay there and bring a brand new expansion team to Las Vegas that
Mhm.
starts from scratch. I think you would get a lot more fan base in Las Vegas to back that team. And have a wonderful time. I'm glad you're going. Great seats. Enjoy the game and enjoy the food.
And if you haven't been to this works either way, but if you haven't been to a Major League Baseball game ever, don't consider this the normal experience because the great seats at that ballpark, no foul territory, you are right there. I mean, and that is not normal in Major League ballparks. It's a very intimate experience. It's a fun place to see a game. It's not normal anywhere else. So if you have been to major league games elsewhere, you're going to really love it because you've seen that and you're like, my God, I'm on top of them here. So either way, enjoy yourself. But yes, that's where those stats came from. So I just wanted to remind everybody. And as long as we're talking about money, a couple of other things today, this morning, breaking news. According to final figures compiled by the commissioner's office, they do this every year. We now know officially what we already knew. We just didn't know the figures. The Dodgers shattered Major League Baseball spending record in payroll and luxury tax last year en route to their second straight World Series title with a combined $515 million they actually spent. They go back after the season, they do an autopsy, they go, well, yeah, but how much was really spent? We know going in what the payroll is, but what did they really spend? Despite several contracts discounted to reflect deferred payments, the Dodgers' total was 7 times that of the payroll of the lowest spending team, the Miami Marlins, who paid $68.7 million. And it was more, the Dodgers was more than the payrolls of the bottom 6 clubs combined. The bottom 6 clubs last year, you take all their payrolls they actually paid out, they still didn't get to what the Dodgers paid their payroll. Now,
I was going to say, and to take it a step farther, the Dodgers paid Shohei Ohtani, if you don't give the deferred money, but just based on his contract, because he made $70 million. I think the Dodgers paid him $2 million and they deferred $68 million of that contract. They paid Shohei Ohtani more money than the Miami Marlins spent on their entire payroll, because their entire payroll is that $68.5 million. And here is the big example of why I say we won't have baseball next year. Dodgers coming off 2 straight championships, most likely going to win a third here. And the Dodgers spend for one player more money than a franchise pays the entire, which is why there needs to be the cap, but there needs to be the ceiling. I mean, the floor. I think the floor is even more important because Miami and these bottom 5, 6 teams shouldn't be permitted to be spending less than $100 million through the course of the season on the player salaries. And I would like to see the players rewarded for getting there. Let's take care of not just the superstars. Let's take care of all of the players that work so hard to get to the major leagues and reward them with a salary. Because if you make the major leagues and you play for just a little while, 3, 4, 5 years, you should be able to not really have to work the rest of your life unless you choose to. So let's get those salaries up there as well.
to give you the specifics, the Dodgers total would have been, and again, they actually paid out last year $515 million. It would have been $71 million higher, but for the use of the deferred money for 7 players that resulted in discounting for their payroll calculations. Shohei counts at $28.2 million because $68 million of his $70 million salary last year isn't due until 2035. So those are specific numbers that Steve had almost exactly right, just to clear that up for For everybody that's trying to figure that. Deferred means exactly that. We're going to pay you way down the road. This was a breakthrough in how to get around the cap and have these star players, and some more teams are adopting it, and a lot of teams simply don't feel like they can. The Dodgers are made of money, and other teams are like, we might not be able to do this. So this is where 2027 comes in, the lockout and figuring all this out. The Mets finished second in payroll last year with their total spending. Now 4 of the top 5 spenders reached the playoffs, except the Mets. But also, the payrolls who ranked 9th, 10th, 12th, 15th, 17th, 22nd, 23rd, and 25th made it. Those last 3 in particular, Steve, 22nd, 23rd, 25th. The bottom half goes back to what we talk about a lot: ownership, management, farm systems. I'm not disagreeing we need a cap and a floor. I don't know where or how they're going to figure this out in an entire year in 2027. But some teams are showing it can be done. Now, none of them won the World Series for the second year in a row. And I don't know if you can just say, well, that's the payroll thing. But teams did figure out a way to get in.
And as you said, that's great management. It's that scouting, the player development. We watch the Milwaukee Brewers continue to win the AL Central year in and year out, and we keep watching their top players get moved, to other teams. And they just continue to rebuild. They continue to put them out. And that is a franchise that does it right, just doesn't have the deep pockets in order to spend, but they make the most for what they have and they know how to do it right. And there's some Tampa Bay is always competitive, and they get rid of their players as they reach that peak. They don't have a whole lot in payroll. So it can be done. It's just honestly a lot more work for those franchises, and it takes an owner to want to pay the people to put them in that position in order to allow the franchise to still succeed when they don't have the deep pockets to compete with the Dodgers, Yankees, and Mets.
Well, and the other problem with that, too, is that as a fan, it gets old. I've been there. That your team gets to the playoffs and they can't go anywhere. And then they get rid of all of their play. The A's made a living off of this 20 years ago. They were getting to the playoffs. Miguel Tejada, Frank Thomas, those years, they were getting to, and they lost. They didn't have the depth to go any deeper. And that gets old after a while because you keep getting to the playoffs and then you don't improve enough. Yeah, they were figuring out a way. Billy Bean and all that. Remember, they were figuring it out. But the Brewers, it only makes you feel great as a fan when you get to the World Series and preferably win it or are competitive in it. And that's, I think, that is part of where the money does come in, is you have so much depth, your word, and so much high-priced talent that can go all the way in the playoffs. It's not just you have the first 2 or 3 starters. The Dodgers, Christ, they have 8 starters that they can throw. And that seems to me to be where you can really point and go, well, good for numbers 22, 23, and 25 last year for getting to the playoffs. Neither one of you was the Dodgers or the Blue Jays who played in the World Series.
Yes, and one of the things I would point to, because I'm always pretty critical on the A's, the ownership, etc., but free agency killed this franchise. I mean, at the time, free agency hit in 76. Charles O'Finley decided that, well, prior to that, when he knew free agency was coming type of thing, look, I'm going to sell off all my players because I can't pay them, and moved them on. And the A's then went to that money ball. We saw that through the 80s and everything. So the A's have always realize they are a smaller market as far as budget goes, and they've always tried to do the things, and yeah, they've been bad for several years, but they have a lot of good young talent that's just coming up and will be coming up here shortly. We talked about DeVries, their shortstop, who's now probably the best prospect in the minor leagues. He'll be coming up as well. So the A's are that example. And Rob, you're an A's fan, and you know this frustration. We get to the playoffs, but you never really, outside of that Canseco, McGuire, Bash Brothers years, outside of that, you never really sat there and said, you know what, we could win a World Series, and you just keep flirting with it, and then you drop down and you are really bad, and then you flirt with it again, but you are never able to make that transition into a legitimate, really good team for several years.
Well, and it doesn't matter that we're going back decades for this. What really made the A's work in the 80s and 90s in the postseason? Their pitchers. Mulder, Zito, Hudson. The big three. You had what you need in the 80s. Stewart, Welsh, and what's his name? I forget who's the third. Kurt Young, right? They were stacked. That's what you need in the postseason. And it doesn't matter that we're going back to the 80s and 90s for that. And by the way, if there's any confusion, the reason they have to wait to tell us exactly what these teams spent is they have to go in and they have to compute the luxury tax, which was supposed to fix all of this. Well, we'll just take teams like the Dodgers and the Mets and we're going to charge them a whole bunch of money if they go above a certain number. Well, they all paid it. That's where this number comes in, and it still works out for the Dodgers. So that's why there's a disparity between payroll going in, and then at the end of the year, here's what they paid, which brings us to this year. Of course, the Dodgers are projected to have the biggest payroll in 2026 spending, and the Mets are second. The lowest opening day 40-man payroll this year at only $75.5 million is the Cleveland Guardians. That's entering the year, and we'll see where it goes.
And the Guardians the last several years have won that AL Central division. And here we see it. They cut, what was it, 30-40 million from their payroll from last year. I'm almost positive they did cut payroll rolling into this year. And here's a team that's having success, but knows they are not willing to spend that money for these players so they continue to stay at that low budget mark.
We have a couple more money-related sports issues. We're going to stay with baseball for one of them, and then we'll get to the NFL and others. We were talking a few weeks ago about the NBA expansion teams in Vegas and Seattle, and this projection of between $7 and $10 billion that people might pay for a non-existent team, a startup team, an expansion team. And I've said from the beginning when we had the conversation, I say Vegas is minimum $12 billion when all the bidding is done. And I'm sticking to that now more than ever because as we talked about then, because we went over what Forbes says all of the franchises in all sports are worth. Well, I've always said you're worth what somebody is willing to pay. That's what you're worth. There's no way you know that the Dallas Cowboys are worth whatever they said, $25 billion. Is somebody willing to pay that? We now know that in Major League Baseball, we have just received data that the San Diego Padres are worth $4 billion. Not a number most people would have guessed. However, a private equity baron and his wife are on the verge of a transaction to buy the club at a 62.5% increase over the record for Major League Baseball of $2.5 billion paid by Steve Cohen to buy the New York Mets. Now, I love San Diego. Steve, you went to school in San Diego. It's a great place. It's a great city. It ain't New York. And on a variety of levels, to see the Padres now be a $4 billion franchise, assuming this goes through, there's other factors, not just I think it's the 16th biggest city in the country, but they've also had strikes against them for years. The Padres, they're surrounded by two LA teams 90 minutes away. Mexico's the other direction, the Pacific Ocean and sand. So there's not a lot of outlying stuff. And there's too much, and the stuff that is outlying is too competitive in a lot of ways. They are also the first team whose local broadcast situation collapsed to the point where MLB had to take over production and distribution just 3 years ago. And yet here they are today on the precipice of becoming a $4 billion franchise, which means the price of every other franchise in every other sport just skyrocketed.
Yeah, what are the Dodgers at now? 15 billion if the Padres are worth 4 billion, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs. Cohen's $2.5 billion for the Mets now might be a bargain because they more than tripled that price just for the Mets. I'm glad to see it for San Diego, an owner come in. Hopefully they have money. They'll invest in the franchise. It's good for the sport. But this is also, and I was in San Diego. My wife's from San Diego. This is one of the complaints I have with, we want our sports teams, don't get me wrong. But then we as residents get taxed. Like I'm paying all this tax, for the Raiders stadium, etc. I'm sure we're going to get hit with the NBA franchise. And we keep paying the tax. But the value of the team, I don't believe, and I think the A's now are valued at like $4.5 billion, something like that once they get to Las Vegas. The owner's going to more than double his worth by going to Las Vegas than staying in Oakland. Yet he doesn't repay us the 370, 390 million all of us are paying in order for him to go with the value of the team. And I know you get into a whole bunch of other things, but it's like we're the ones who pay for it. You take up our ticket prices so we can't go, and your value doubles or triples in value by coming to the town.
So a couple things in the interest of the whole other things. The argument is that it brings jobs and it brings other forms of money that residents get in that area as everything improves. And it's different in every city. And the minutia of it and whether or not it does, quote, trickle down is an endless argument that has never really been proven. In some cities, they believe they can make an A-B correlation, and others they can't. Back to, I don't believe you should ever tell anyone whether they do or don't need money. Does Vegas need a baseball team to attract more tourists? Will they even attract more tourists with the A's, et cetera? So you can go on and on and on and on. And the other thing is, now that the Padres are apparently worth $4 billion, okay, people can say all they want that the A's will be worth $4 billion when they move to Vegas. They're worth a lot more. A team in Vegas, they are going to be worth a lot more. He's more than doubling it because again, who will pay for it? Someone will pay a lot of money for a Major League Baseball team in Las Vegas, more than they're going to pay in San Diego. That's what is so wild about this as we continue to watch the business side of sports. And as you always point out, all of these owners are multi billionaires. This guy is a hedge fund owner and his wife. It's not a conglomerate. I did a little bit of digging. We won't know all the details until it's official. Doesn't look like he's got other investors, and if they are, they're small. And he's just saying, here you go. Here's a check for $3.9 billion. I'm rounding up, sorry. $3.9 billion. Here you go, San Diego Padres.
I can't even imagine being able to write a check like that. Yeah, can I charge it on my credit card so I can get my 3% back?
And the miles. We have a new shifting sports, but still with money. We have a new highest paid non-quarterback in league history. In the NFL, story just broke right before we went on the air. The Texans edge rusher Will Anderson Jr., number 3 overall pick 3 years ago, already under contract with the Texans through next season, 27, because they picked up his 5th-year option, has just gotten a 3-year contract extension worth $134 million guaranteed, $150 million overall, and it includes a no-trade clause.
3-year, 150 with that 134 guarantee. $50 million a year for a non-quarterback. Where are the salaries going in this league? And 134 million guaranteed for a defensive lineman. Crazy. Great for him. Unbelievable player.
The NFL has really, and I'm not saying they're wrong, they have become enamored with the edge rusher. There's a lot of people, not just broadcasters, former athletes who have podcasts and other microphones and such that say the 2 most important positions on your team are the quarterback and the edge rusher. Whatever they're using to come to that metric or whatever, the edge rushers have continued to skyrocket, but your point is they all will. That is a ton of that. So, okay. $50 million a year is not the guaranteed number, but it's what the average value salary or whatever. That's more than half of the quarterbacks in the league. That's way more than Baker Mayfield's going to make this year, and he's like 16th.
And even at 134 divided by 3, you're talking 45 million, something crazy like that. I think it's close to 45 million guaranteed a season. As you said, there's I was saying Baker needs to sign that like 5-year for, 200 million at 40 million a year. This guy's now even making more than quarterbacks. And, Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit sitting there going, wow. The Raiders just like got a lump in their throat going, okay, Max Crosby, if he does return, can we trade him for our 2 number 1 picks again? Because to re-sign him, he's going to be up in that range as well. And because it just reset that whole position. Now, edge rushers are in the quarterback, the low of the elite quarterback range going forward.
And look, Will Anderson Jr. is a hell of a player. Good for him. It's not about Will Anderson Jr. It's not even about the Texans for locking up a hell of a player. I mean, the Texans are still in that area of what are we going to do with this C.J. Stroud era before that comes to pass? Good for everybody except for the overall position of the league and all the money and how these things just keep skyrocketing. Okay, so this ties in to a couple things with football. Beginning in 2027, so not this year, next year, college football might have an earlier start to the season. We talked about this over a month ago, and I think we talked about it over a year ago when this all started, about 18 games in the NFL. They will have an earlier start to the season if this all goes through. The NCAA's Football Oversight Committee yesterday recommended a standard start before Labor Day weekend. The regular season would begin on the Thursday of what is now called Week 0. It would still end the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Schools would have 14 weeks to schedule 12 games, give them 2 open dates, and allow for flexibility and potential changes to the season. It has to be voted on in June by the full cabinet. Now, is this the NCAA working in tandem with the NFL, or is it them seeing the writing on the wall? Because with the NFL, they want to go to 18 games. They want to go to 2 bye weeks, we think. This is what's being widely considered. They don't want to play until March, the NFL doesn't. They do want to, as of right now, have the Super Bowl on President's Weekend. Everybody gets Monday off anyways. But you would have to move, instead of that Thursday after Labor Day, would you have to move the NFL up to Labor Day weekend is what's one of the many ideas. Is this the NCAA going, all right, we got to vacate. We're going to go a week earlier. Either way, it could be coincidence. I don't believe in that. But it certainly does open the field for the NFL to come plowing through with their 18-game season in a couple years.
I think it's a combination of both. I think the NCAA has been testing out that Week 0 for the last few years. We've seen that happen. They haven't gone with a full bore of games at that point. I also like to believe that they're looking at player safety. Hey, look, now we can get teams a couple of buys through the course of the season, extend it. But I think the bottom line with this really goes to, where is the playoffs going to go? Are we going to open it up to more teams, a 16-team playoff, which allows us to go with the 8 games one week, the 4 games the next week, the 2 games the next week, the 1 game the next week, and also allow you to have those additional bowl games because they have 100 of them and only a certain amount means something. So I think it's building in flexibility for that college schedule to accommodate the larger playoff field if they choose to go that route. Player safety by a couple of off weeks to allow the players to rest. And the NFL's going to move the Labor Day. I find it hard to believe that they won't get there. So they're just a step ahead of it, knowing it and saying, oh, no, this is all that we've been doing for things that we're trying to, push those various things that they want to bring into college football.
Publicly, the College Football Playoff Committee, the College Football Oversight Committee addressed all of the things you said. I mean, this is what they're saying. One of the members of the committee, the Oversight Committee, is Clark Lee, who's the Vanderbilt coach. He says this is partly a health and safety issue that needs to be addressed. Okay. He also says that this is significant because it allows the College Football Playoff Committee to continue to discuss how and when to expand the current 12-team field. The proposed calendar change would preserve the standalone weekend for conference championship games and the Army-Navy game. So it is everything you brought up is they're saying, yep, we're thinking of all of this. And the NFL part is just sitting there. Of course the NFL is going to do whatever they want to. NBA, Christmas, see ya. We'll just step on you. So yes, it's all in there. It's all in there. Then we go to Joe Flacco. He's played 209 games in his career. He's back with the Bengals this year at age 41. We've been talking about with the NFL, how far is too far? How much is too much? When will you see consumer pushback or won't you? We've had this conversation to death the last few weeks. All these streaming services, all these other ways you got to pay if you want to see all the games. This new deal with YouTube, is it going to be free or do you have to pay extra? Do you have to be part of the YouTube Sunday ticket thing or whatever they're calling it now in order to get the Thanksgiving Eve game and the Australia game with the Niners and the Rams, etc.? Joe Flacco's not addressing that. He's addressing does the NFL know how to stop? He says he has major concerns about the season getting longer. Flacco said that with NFL owners wanting to add a game to the regular season, he questions whether the 18-game season will then turn into 20 or 22. And whether the constant desire for more money will hurt the players and the product on the field, he told Front Office Sports, quote, "It's got to stop at some point. If we're asked to play 18 games, you're going to see much difference. And it looks like we are going to eventually play 18 games, and that is what it is. But I don't think," Flacco goes on to say, "people realize," and we talked about this like with the NBA. Flacco says, "I don't think people realize when you put guys through an 18-game regular season schedule, what could happen is the playoffs start to suffer. Teams are so beat up by that point in the year, they're not at their best. And instead of getting top-level football, you're getting a couple teams going against each other at 75%. And when you become a team like the Chiefs that perennially went deep for, 5-6 years, and they're playing 20-plus games a year, it does catch up to you. I don't know if Flacco's just, fear-mongering or he's paranoid. The NFL doesn't seem to know when to stop. It seems ludicrous. Like, I'm all for 18 games, but that's it. I'm a big fan of less is more. I don't think I want more NFL, but I don't know where the appetite is for everybody.
I think Flacco's just speaking what we've all been saying. And, we've been boisterous on the subscription services and the streaming and the fees. But once they get that, where is the NFL going to stop? We get to 18 games. They play 18 games for, 10 years. 20's coming up or 19's coming up because they have to continue to increase that revenue. And I don't think we've reached the end. I think they're going to just continue. And I agree with them. The longer it is, look at how the Lions a couple of years were devastated by injuries. Look at the Niners, 2 years ago, devastated. You see these teams devastated by injuries. And then we, as fans, go, oh man, there's so many key injuries. You're going to bring up this year in week 3. Oh, do we have an increase of stars being hurt early in the season and quarterbacks going down? It's coming. I'm telling you this, a September show we're going to be discussing. As a fan, we want quality football. And as much as I'd like to see more, I would like to see it to where we have the stars playing healthy at the end of the season. Because you and I agree on this. When it comes time for the playoffs, all the way up through the Super Bowl or the World Series, we want the best playing on the field at all times because then you know who the true champion is. It isn't like when the Golden Knights, and great, the Golden Knights won it, but you find out afterwards that there's 4 guys on the Panthers that shouldn't even have been on the ice because they were so banged up. But it was the Stanley Cup. They wanted to partake in it. And it wasn't a quality Stanley Cup because of the injuries on that other team.
Speaking of playoffs, and speaking of the Stanley Cup, we have NHL and NBA playoffs to go over. We have more football news. We have baseball news. And we have one of, I think, the least interesting updates for Steve. But we do have more news on it after this.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you go to AdvantageSteam.com, which you should, at the top of the page, you'll see the Services tab. Click on it, and you'll see that Advantage Steam does carpet and upholstery cleaning. They protect fabric and fiber. They clean and seal tile and grout. They polish natural stone. They clean rugs, especially those really nice ones from foreign countries. And they treat urine damage. And not just urine, but vomit and feces. No. Yuck. I assume if you need that service, you either have children or pets or you live in a frat house. But either way, they'll take care of you. Of course, Advantage Steam also applies MicroSeal. And if you don't know what that is by now, then you just suck. Joel is the local small business owner of AdvantageSteam.com. He's a lifelong maggot, and he's treated, cleaned, protected, polished, and microsealed the homes of countless members of the RAD team over the years, various RAD studios, and of course, Williams Manor. And I hate admitting this, but he is a genuinely really great, nice guy. In fact, if you tell him I said that, you'll get 0% off all services. So go to AdvantageSteam.com. Click on Make an Appointment, enter in your available dates and any comments, like maybe type, Rob said you're a really great, nice guy. Please give me 0% off. And they will get you all set up. Just go to AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com.
Hello, the Rob and Steve Sports Show is many minutes away, right here on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, we need to make a dump run. Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or, you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story's incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com.
This is sports talk, how it should be. Rob and Steve do it right. They actually talk sports. Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Did a little baseball, did a little football, mainly on the financial side. And also, with the NFL, go to 18 games, 20 games, 22 games, things like that. So, you're all okay. Now you're gonna talk about what happened on the field in baseball. You're gonna talk about the draft, which is less than a week away. Hello, basketball. What about hockey? We got all that. But I mentioned we have an update on the topic that I know Steve does not. I don't want to say you don't care, Steve. And I know you trust me when you let me decide what are we going to bring up. But I know this is a story that your eyes glaze over and they roll into the back of your head. But we have an update. We already talked about it once. Boxing. So here's the TikTok. Oh, he's hanging his head, man. Here's the TikTok of what we reported. Manny Pacquiao, this last Monday, said, this is where we left off in the story. And last Monday, he reasserted that he is 100% confident that his September 19th rematch with Floyd Mayweather, again, I remind you, it's April of 2026, for those of you that are wondering, at the Sphere in Las Vegas will still happen regardless of what his opponent has said. Pacquiao said on Monday on ESPN, quote, "We both signed the contract. We both got our advance on our purse, so there's no way we're going to cancel this fight," end quote. This became an issue because earlier this month, Mayweather said it's not actually a fight, it's an exhibition. And this is where I think, topsy-turvy. And Steve, you started to explain how this works with Nevada Gaming Commission and it's boxing sanction, etc. Pacquiao said he was disappointed to hear Mayweather backtrack, saying, quote, this again Monday on ESPN, "When I heard Mayweather say it was an exhibition, I called my team right away and I said, what's happening? What's wrong with this guy? What we signed was a real fight, not an exhibition. I don't know where he got this from, end quote. Manny Pacquiao Promotions CEO said that Mayweather is in breach of contract. After that interview on ESPN Monday, Mayweather simply responded in a social media post with a screenshot of Pacquiao saying that the fight was going on. Mayweather said, "This is not true." Pacquiao's team announced on Tuesday of this week that Mayweather had 24 hours to clarify the status of their fight before the plug is officially pulled. And Pacquiao went on to declare that Mayweather doesn't want to taint his undefeated record. Before I give you the update, what is the issue, Steve, with exhibition versus sanctioned fight as it relates to the fight being officially held or whatever? That's always confusing for a lot of people.
Okay, let me simplify it. You and I playing one-on-one basketball would be an exhibition because we are not members of the NBA or the College Basketball Association. If this fight gets sanctioned by the Nevada Boxing Association and it becomes a legitimate with one of the, the WBC, the IBF, one of those boxing, then it becomes a real fight. But until that happens, it's an exhibition because it's not backed by any governing boxing federation.
What is the process to get a fight sanctioned? Because they are both professional boxers. So what else has to happen for somebody to say, yeah, this is a real professional fight?
The boxing association, the WBC, IBF, WBF, whatever the heck they're going with, one has to agree to the fight and agree to sanction the fight. The Nevada Gaming Control Board, Nevada Boxing Association then has to approve the fight as a sanctioned fight through one of these organizations.
Okay. Now, it was on Tuesday that Pacquiao said he gave Mayweather 24 hours. And maybe Mayweather responded within 24 hours. We didn't get the news until late yesterday when Manny Pacquiao came out and said that Floyd Mayweather Jr. finally gave his answer, and it cleared a major hurdle for their long-awaited rematch as Mayweather has agreed to move forward with their September 19th showdown as a legitimate professional fight, not an exhibition. So it's not even really step one in that the way you described it, but it is step, point half. Both of the participants agree it's going to be a real fight. Now we need the people that matter to agree. Manny Pacquiao Promotion said that Mayweather has already taken out a loan tied to the upcoming event with the fight contract serving as collateral. So he takes out a loan, the lender gives him the money. Well, the money is tied directly to the fight moving forward. So Mayweather was kind of screwed. He's like, so if I don't fight, that increases the urgency to finalize the bout as a sanctioned fight, and that's why I wanted to get you. So they have to go. Basically, do they beg the IBF or the WBC, whoever, all these initials you were throwing at me? Do they beg? Do they say, well, because boxing it's a lot of us lost back in the 20th century ish. A lot of the luster of boxing because it seemed like it was so corrupt. And I don't know how corrupt it is now, but it seems like it's pretty easy. If it was like it was then, it would be pretty easy. Just go, hey, you'll do this for me, right? Huh? You do us a solid, we'll make it a fight, huh?
Yeah, for the right amount of money, it always seems that they're able to do it. And if they really want to pitch it, they're going to find a way to suddenly create a new weight class or something in there. And they're going to make it a title fight to really draw the fans' interest and get the pay-per-view up. This will be the, feather bantamweight title fight for the IBF. And I'm just throwing out, allegedly. And they'll turn it somehow into a title fight because it seems that every fight we get anymore has some kind of title turned into it. The other part I think is interesting in the boxing world is you will get the, I'm not going to put my title on the line in this fight. I'm going to fight it, but I'm going to hold on to my title as well. It's all the stuff that just, I'm sorry to say this, has made boxing a clown show for the last 30 years.
Now, the rematch is scheduled for September 19th at the Sphere in Las Vegas. It will be streamed globally on Netflix. So then you have the Netflix angle as well in terms of making this thing happen. They want more subscribers, and there is always that thing that dangles out there would Netflix say, okay, fine, a level of attrition for subscribers, but we'll charge you a one-time fee to watch the fight as well? Okay, fine, don't subscribe to Netflix. We'll give you 24-hour access for this amount of money. We don't know what's going to happen, but they're involved too. They're going to the same initial people going, hey, you got to make this happen.
And this is where I give Jake Paul credit, because Jake Paul's fights were not sanctioned. He was the first boxer I can recall that has flat out taken, look, we don't need sanctioned fights. It's all about the pay-per-view and the draw to the arena. The wagering aspect does not matter. And this fight could go on in that sense, but if it's not sanctioned, you're not going to be able to wager on it. You can still watch it. You can still see it, pay-per-view at the Sphere, but it may or may not be an actual sanctioned fight.
And there is that other allure to this whole thing. A, it's a boxing match in Vegas. B, it is two big names, although they're over the hill. C, it is the first boxing match at the Sphere. And if you pay attention at all to entertainment and concerts and sporting events, the Sphere is it. I mean, people are blown away by this venue. And people will go to Vegas just for that, just to say I was at the Sphere for the first boxing match. So there's all these things that will bring people in. It's not like there's a question it's going to sell out for whatever astronomical amount they sell it for. So there's so many things working to make this thing happen. And whether it's sanctioned exhibition, but it has to be sanctioned to bet on it. Is that right?
Yes, it has to be a sanctioned fight in most states in order to accept wagers on it. And the thing that I'm curious about, because this is the first fight in the Sphere, is will the people who don't have those front 5-6 rows so you can see the fight up close, will they be showing it? I have to believe they will, on the surrounding all the way around. So really you're paying just to get into the arena and then watch it on TV, although it's not TV, but just getting in there to see that full surround picture, sound, and all of that, which would be an incredible experience.
And that's why the Sphere markets itself as the immersive experience. Yeah, you're not in the first 5 rows, 10 rows, whatever, but all you have to do is crank your neck, and not even that much, and you are surrounded by this fight happening on these ginormous screen, and you're there. And for so many people, it's experiences, and you're there. But back to that comment that Pacquiao made too. If the bout does proceed as a sanctioned fight, it would mark Mayweather's first professional appearance since he beat Conor McGregor in 2017. That was forgettable. Since then, Mayweather's done exhibition bouts. So he has preserved, this was Pacquiao's comment, his pristine undefeated record. He's 50-0. A return to a real fight against Pacquiao would put that record at risk, which is what Pacquiao is openly questioning. Okay. You put enough zeros behind it, and I don't know how much Mayweather cares at this point.
I was kind of surprised and don't know, but I always thought Mayweather was very financially secure, has made a lot of money, but he's been very smart with his money. Pacquiao on the other side, I've heard he's had money troubles for quite some time. So, he needs another big paycheck.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't either know. I don't remember, so many of these athletes and boxers in particular, they have all these ups and downs with finances and stuff. But whether Mayweather's been good with his money or not, I go back to if there's enough zeros there, anybody's gonna be like, well, all right, now I have multi-generational wealth at some point. And maybe the 50-0 thing doesn't matter that much, or maybe it's what motivates him. Who if it even gets sanctioned. The NFL draft is 6 days away, next Thursday. And we've barely been dipping our toe in because, as we were saying yesterday, and Steve, you made a great point. 3 years ago was everybody, the day after the draft ended on that Monday, was everybody raving about how the Seahawks had made all these great. No, and we didn't even throw out the low-hanging fruit example. 25 years ago, was everybody praising the Patriots for taking that Tom Brady guy in the 6th round? No, because we don't know. We don't know anything. So, because yesterday we had the article of the teams that have the most to gain or lose in the draft. You don't know. One of the things that's really, really been hyped is the only 2 quarterbacks we're told that matters. We all think we know that Mendoza's going to the Raiders with the first pick. And then you bring up Ty Simpson. And the Cardinals already had Ty Simpson come in. And oh, by the way, before I continue with Ty Simpson, they haven't named a starting quarterback. But Jacoby Brissett he wants a contract commitment before he shows up. The balls on this guy. He has not been in attendance for the first phase of the team's offseason program, which is voluntary. He's due to make a base salary of $4.8 million this year, but only $1.5 million is guaranteed. I say only because that's chump change in the NFL. Their other option would be Gardner Minshew. They already brought in, the Cardinals did, Drew Aller from Penn State, and they met with Ty Simpson from Alabama or whatever. So, okay, so first, before I go too far, what do you think of the flex by Brissett here? It says, hey, you better give me a contract or I might not show up.
I like it. I thought he would have been making more. He's one of the better backups in the league, and I'm curious what Gardner Minshew's making, because I would think he's making a little bit less than Brissett. I think he needs to make that flex. Let's go see. You want a veteran quarterback in here? That's why you brought me in. Get me to 10 million. Pay me a little bit.
Now, the question that's been out there when it comes to Ty Simpson, who was quarterback for a year with Alabama because he had to sit behind Young, right? And then Jalen, right? Was that the other guy? So he only got to play 1 year. And the question has been, is he really nobody knows if these guys are the NFL quarterbacks, but the question, will he go in the first round? I'm starting to feel like he's going to go in the first round because of what you brought up when we reported that Drew Aller was going to the Cardinals. The pickings are slim and teams are desperate to just throw a flyer out and even use a major pick on a guy that some people don't know. And I forget, you're not sold on either of these guys, are you, as a pro quarterback?
I think Mendoza is really good. I'm not sold that he is that elite quarterback that we haven't, seen come out since, in the last 10 years or so. I'm not sold he's that good. The record for quarterbacks drafted in the first round are not very good. Far more are busts than proven. And it just shows how important the quarterback position is, because these teams are willing to bury their franchise for 4 or 5 more years, because if you take a quarterback in the first round and he's a bust, you have to give him 2 to 3 years in order to prove he is a bust, at which point you're drafting again, and then it's going to take that quarterback a little bit of time before he's able to produce in the NFL. I think it's one of the mistakes that these NFL teams take. I think you got to build him, any quarterback, a foundation for success with some good players to surround him with. Not, we're terrible, we're the worst team in the NFL, the first position I got to address is my quarterback. Here's a thought: address some of the other positions, offensive, defensive line, learn how to tackle, learn how to block, then bring in your quarterback, who then is protected and then has a chance to succeed. Ty Simpson, I also think the amount of games at quarterback starts in college is important. I think that experience is very important. I think he has 15 starts in college. And yes, Josh Allen didn't have a ton of college starts, but we can roll to far more quarterbacks that fail that didn't have a ton of starts than those that do succeed.
Do you think, because I do you think that Ty Simpson will go in the first round?
I think he will. I do not think he should.
Now, and here's where it's coming from me. And I don't know. I am really bad at that whole, especially with quarterbacks. Does this translate from college to the NFL thing? I just haven't spent a lot of time, and when I do try, I miss big time. So I don't really have a should. I go on the should based on guys like you and other things. But I think he will, because of the desperation of so many teams. We talked a little bit about this, and then there's a new one that's been thrown into the mix. There's the Jets. Nobody believes they would waste the second pick on Ty Simpson, but would they take him at 16, either because they're so desperate or to snatch him because of the other teams that are hanging around, like the Steelers at 21, who, oh, by the way, breaking news, still don't have word from Aaron Rodgers if he's coming back, at least not publicly. Maybe Aaron Rodgers has told them, and they're going to surprise us all next week in Pittsburgh. I don't know. But gamesmanship. That could be in the heads of the Jets. Oh, should we take? Then we already talked about the Cardinals. Now the Cardinals only have the third pick, but they could trade. Could they trade to move up in the first round to take Ty Simpson? The Saints, would the Saints be in the market for a quarterback? Now they have the eighth pick. I think that's early. I'd be stunned, but they could maybe again. Do they trade and do late or and take a flyer?
I think the Saints are sold on Shuck. I think he did enough last year that they're going to say we're going to roll with him, and he is our quarterback. We're not going to waste a first round pick on him. And where I would go with the Cardinals is Cardinals also have pick 34, do they not?
Yeah, second round, but that's
right. But you're in that second round.
Yes.
Would it be great if the Cardinals went with like Love, the running back out of Notre Dame at the 3 spot? Because he's getting a lot of talk in that 3, 4, 5, 6. Many people feel he is the best player on that board. The Cardinals sit there at 34 with that. Look, we'll take Ty Simpson the beginning of the second round. And then if it appears that somebody might be willing to trade up, maybe the Cardinals then trade up into the late part of that first round. Or other teams going, we think the Cardinals are going to snag him at 34. And that's where I think you might see teams jumping up into that late first round, which is why I believe he will go in the first round, because the Cardinals sit there at 34. And I have to believe they will take him if he is there.
Exactly. And that anxiety over who's behind us that might take him. We already ran through a few of them there, right? With the Steelers and the Jets at 16, that's still pretty high and such. The other team that's being talked about today has the 6th pick and the 24th pick in the first round. 24 if you're waiting around, which brings us to the Cleveland Browns. One of several teams that have spent plenty of pre-draft time with Ty Simpson. You're hanging your head again. It's the second time today. Now, they have Shedeur Sanders. They have Deshaun Watson. They have Dylan Gabriel. But Browns head coach Todd Monken has been a family friend of the Simpsons, not Homer and Marge, the Ty Simpson family, for years. Browns general manager Andrew Berry told reporters that the team has enjoyed their time with Ty. He refused to speculate. Oh, it wouldn't be a commentary on who our quarterbacks are. And then he went on to tell you all the reasons he would draft Ty Simpson, son of a coach, smart, driven, physically talented. Hey, maybe the Browns suddenly are smart and they're just throwing a redirect, a misdirect kind of thing, and they're making people think that they're in the mix. But it's another team that's there, and they're at 24 with the pick. And now you've got, 4 or 5 teams that all of whom you can go, they might take them. They might take him. And I wonder if somebody does something stupid, if somebody pulls in Atlanta like they did with Michael Penix Jr., which, okay, too soon to call it stupid, but is somebody going to vault into the top 10 or the top 15 to get Simpson just because they're so angst-ridden that somebody else might take him?
And sorry, Rob, this might come with a homework assignment, so I want to prepare you up front with my comment.
Got a whole weekend.
If the Browns, look at all the quarterbacks the Browns have taken in the last 10 years. If you were to just look at the quarterbacks the Browns took in the last 10 years and looked at the best available player after the Browns made their pick, and if you rolled those players into the Browns roster, how good would this Browns team be over the last 10 years if they had not picked a quarterback? Because you're looking at Baker Mayfield. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on about how all their high-end, Dylan Gabriel last year, 3rd-round pick, all these high-end quarterbacks they keep taking, and they're still terrible. And yet we're talking about them taking a quarterback again, possibly in the first round, because they've never got it right. If you rolled all those players, this Browns team would probably be competitive, and who knows, maybe fighting for a wild card team if they would have just stayed away from the quarterback position and just signed free agent.
Well, and you know what, too, with the Browns are easy to pick on if you go the other direction. Almost all these teams that I mentioned that would be looking at Ty Simpson, the Jets, certainly the Browns, they're poor Ty Simpson. There's no reason to believe that it's going to be, if he has any ability to be an NFL quarterback, he's not going to flourish in most of these cities that we're looking at saying, oh, they might take a flyer on him.
And that's where you land is so important that people don't talk about. You have to land with the right head coach, offensive coordinator, right system. And I'm going to allow you, I'm asking you to do this on this homework assignment. Include the first round selections that they gave up for Deshaun Watson. And I'm not saying pick a player after that. I'm saying who were the players taken by the Texans, etc., for Deshaun Watson, and immediately put those as those players too. And I'm willing to bet you that you're going to come out with a pretty good roster over the last 10 years.
I'll do my best to have that ready for us on Monday, hour 2 of the Rob and Steve Show after this.
It's the Rob and Steve.
It's that time of the year again, spring cleaning time. Much like New Year's resolutions, spring cleaning is something we swear we're going to get to and then we never follow through on. And one of the reasons is how overwhelming it can be. You start to clean up, and then pretty soon you realize you have way more trash than you can just throw into your bins and put at the curb for the garbage company. You have enough junk that you need to make a half dozen trips to the dump, and then you go, oh, we don't even own a truck. Nor do you have the time or the energy, so you just say screw it again and no spring cleaning. So this year, call my man Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong on purpose. It makes him stand out. Plus, it makes you think of chocolate milk. QUIK Dumpsters.com. Quick Dumpsters, QUIK Dumpsters.com is their website. Corey and his team came to my house recently, hauled away dozens of boxes filled with just stone-cold trash, unusable and worthless old vacuum cleaners, appliances that couldn't be fixed, and just random crap from around the house. QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is QUIK. We're in and out of my place in less than 30 minutes. They checked in with me multiple times to make sure they were taking the right stuff. They were friendly, kind, professional, and finished off the job by making the house cleaner than when they started. And this may be the best part. Quotes are free, and you don't even have to have them over to your house where you get the little sales pitch and all that. Just send them some pics or videos. You get your price, schedule your day and time, and you watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Basically, you have no excuses other than your own laziness. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. That's QUIK Dumpsters. QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, QUIK Dumpsters.com. If you go to AdvantageSteam.com, which you should, at the top of the page, you'll see the Services tab. Click on it, and you'll see that Advantage Steam does carpet and upholstery cleaning. They protect fabric and fiber. They clean and seal tile and grout. They polish natural stone. They clean rugs, especially those really nice ones from foreign countries. And they treat urine damage. And not just urine, but vomit and feces. Ew. Yuck. I assume if you need that service, you either have children or pets or you live in a frat house. But either way, they'll take care of you. Of course, Advantage Steam also applies MicroSeal. And if you don't know what that is by now, then you just suck. Joel is the local small business owner of AdvantageSteam.com. He's a lifelong maggot, and he's treated, cleaned, protected, polished, and microsealed the homes of countless members of the RAD team over the years, various RAD studios, and of course, Williams Manor. And I hate admitting this, but he is a genuinely really great, nice guy. In fact, if you tell him I said that, you'll get 0% off all services. So go to AdvantageSteam.com. Click on Make an Appointment, enter in your available dates and any comments, like maybe type, Rob said you're a really great, nice guy. Please give me 0% off. And they will get you all set up. Just go to AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com.
At the Rob and Steve Sports Show, we only support responsible sports betting and gambling. With that said, according to Rob's favorite Chinese restaurant, your lucky numbers today are 12, 14, 17, 20, 28, and 36. Good luck. Email us your results at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Gosh, Steve, I feel terrible. I was just talking about how you very graciously always cede to me what topics we'll do each show, and I just realized, and I can adjust. I can get this in there. I didn't make time for us to go over bout for bout WrestleMania, which is this weekend. Did you want me to carve that out? Maybe we'll cut out the NBA or something.
I really thought you were going to we didn't get a chance to break down the WNBA draft and the 5 UCLA players that were selected in the first round, setting some kind of record for that league.
See, I'm just swinging and missing left and right. Speaking of swinging and missing, I was also getting ready for when we get to other baseball. We already did baseball. We're going to talk about the streak meter and other teams. We know the Mets are riding an 8-game losing streak, and they're in Chicago. We're only through 2 innings, and the Cubs are up 6-3. So that's an interesting game going on. So we'll get back to that. But I want to jump to Connor McDavid, 4 assists to take the NFL scoring title last night as the NHL wrapped up its regular season schedule. He won his 6th Art Ross title as the NHL scoring leader to tie Mario Lemieux and Gordie Howe. That's some pretty good company. Troy Terry scored on a power play, and the Anaheim Ducks, who have been going up, down, beat the Predators last night, so they clinched the 3rd seed in the Pacific Division. The Ducks actually had 5 different scenarios last night to lock up their playoff matchups and scenarios, but we're there. This is it. The NHL's playoff bracket is set, and it gets underway tomorrow. All the games are on ESPN or TNT and their affiliated networks. Check your listings. Let's start with the 2 teams we just mentioned. They're the only ones playing on Monday that will not have already played. Their series starts on Monday. Anaheim is at Edmonton. The overview of what you see, you've been talking about how Anaheim's kind of been all over the place. Edmonton is Edmonton. Connor McDavid looks like he's peaking. What do you see in this series?
Yeah, Edmonton's really good. As I've stated, Anaheim, a lot of good young players. I don't think people expected them to be that good. I don't think making the playoffs was a surprise. But keep in mind, this team was leading the Pacific Division just a couple of weeks ago until they went into their 6-game slide and allowed the Golden Knights, who I'm like, they're going to be the 3 seed and they're done. They're not playing well. They fired their coach. Tortorella comes in. They close out the season pretty strong, and now they're sitting as the number 1 seed. This is going to be a great series. I like Edmonton. I like the experience that they have in this. But one of the things that jumped out to me, and this is a disappointment big time in what I was hoping for in the NHL playoffs and just how they do it. You have the Avalanche playing the Kings. But in that same bracket, you got the Stars and the Wild. So the 3 of the 4 best teams in all of hockey are sitting there, and only one can even reach the conference finals because the winner of the Avalanche Kings plays the winner of the Stars Wild. So we're going to have an Avalanche Stars Wild knocking 2 of those teams out early in the playoffs without being able to go deep, which is a shame. And that's where I would like to see the 1 through 8 seeding, because these teams, I mean, at worst case, they're 1, 3, and 4 as the next 2 best teams, giving if you went with the division champion. So you'd put the Golden Knights 2, even though they're really not a 2 team out of the West. And that's the shape. And I'm going to hit on the emailer who had us a while back, who was going to go and sit down and watch the playoffs and was looking for a little bit of a wild card team to kind of root for, put a little money down. The thing I would look at is I would pick one of the teams, not the Knights, but I would look at the Mammoth, the Oilers, or the Ducks, and look at to win the conference finals. They're really not going to beat the Avalanche to go to the Stanley Cup, but it's kind of a way of making a bet just to get to that conference finals. Nobody gives the Mammoth, Oiler, really the team I'd look at is the Mammoth. Just take a shot at them. They were the 7th seed out west, and it is possible they could get to the Western Conference Finals.
So you led us into that, to your bailiwick, the sports betting side of this. Caesars Sportsbook lead hockey trader Kerry Shreve in an interview with ESPN says the Avalanche are the clear favorite to win it all, and then the Hurricanes and Lightning win it all, win the Stanley Cup. He says, though, the betting public is hoping that one of those fun long shots lifts the cup instead, and what they're seeing is they are all over the Sabres. The team that hasn't been there for 14 years. At Caesars, they are 14-1 odds to hoist the cup after entering the season at 150-1. So they're seeing, and that's typical, right? The betting public loves those stories.
Yes, but you do have to. The part that doesn't come out in that article is this is season long. So the people have been betting the Sabres really once they started winning and it's been coming in. It's not well like where the emailer said, look, you got to take it from this point going forward. The Sabre money is going to come in because nobody expected. I would be more than willing to bet you and have seen it on our end, the Ducks because the Ducks had good young talent, had some hopes, but there are shots of seriously going into the season. Oh, the Ducks are going to be the Stanley Cup champions. Not going to happen. So they're going to have really high odds. The team that really surprised me early on, and I just gave them out, so many people were high on the Mammoth from before the season started. I kind of discounted them because I didn't think they could win, their division. But the Mammoth continues to play really strong hockey. And that's a team whose odds were a lot lower than, say, the Sabres or that, because before the season, and hats off to those people, there were a lot of people who were really high on the Mammoth.
The other team that Shreve at Caesars mentioned that he says is the biggest question mark is your Las Vegas Golden Knights, who are tied with the Stars for fourth. If you go to the DraftKings odd board, they're at 10-1. But Shreve says he's personally not bullish on the Knights, but concedes they have momentum with John Tortorella, who led him to a 7-0-1 finish, and says, and I think this makes sense with Tortorella coming in and just Tortorella. The Knights are like, are they going to do this again? Right? They are a big question mark.
They are a really talented team. One of the things I've always loved to them, and I keep here's another example, the depth that they've had, but they've lost that depth over the years. The last few years, they've become much more top heavy. They have the stars. They've brought in players like that. I just really question their goaltending. I'm not convinced their goaltending is really any good with Aiden Hill, etc. And their defensemen have not been that second line has well, not the second line, but the defensemen have not been able to support the goaltender like they have in the past. They used to have four of the best defenders out on that ice with six guys who rotated into those four, and they were as good as any team in the league. It's just not the same. They're not as talented at that in front of the net that they've been in the past.
Now, the NHL playoffs start tomorrow. We got 3 games. ESPN, noon, 2:35. If everybody stays on time, that's Pacific time, one after another. Ottawa is at Carolina. You kind of covered Minnesota at Dallas and of that whole thing. And Philadelphia is at Pittsburgh. What's jumping out about any or all of those games tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Penguins Flyers, big rivalry. This is going to be fun. Anytime you can get a series like that, yeah, you have to enjoy it. I'm pulling for the Sabres. I'd love to see the Sabres go deep into this. I don't think they will. I really think the Eastern is the Lightning and the Hurricanes. As you were talking about the favorites there, I think the Lightning Hurricanes will be in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Avalanche and whoever, my wild card spot, whoever comes out of that bottom part of that Western Conference bracket.
Okay, so early games on Sunday, which are on the TNT family. There's 2 of them, and then they jump over to ESPN. So the early games on Sunday, the Kings are at the Avalanche. Sounds like you've given away what you think is going to happen there. And Montreal's at Tampa Bay. Do the Kings have any chance to even make this competitive?
They do. Hot goaltender, you can do some things. I don't think they should. I don't think they will. I like the Avalanche advancing. Maybe the Kings steal a game, but that's all I can see. The Canadians, though, and I keep talking about the Lightning. I was shocked the Canadians are a $2 dog in this series. Everyone's given that advantage to the Lightning, as I am, with their experience. But this Canadians team has been feisty all year. Caulfield can score. He's had a great year this year. Don't be surprised if the Canadians find a way to put some pressure on the Lightning in this series.
And then the 2 later games on Sunday, which are on ESPN, We've touched on them a little bit. Boston's at Buffalo, and those Utah Mammoth, they're at Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas, get it done. You got to find a way. But this Mammoth, this is going to be a great series. I really think Utah is going to challenge Vegas and make them, play to their capabilities. On the ice, the Knights to me are a more talented team, but they just haven't consistently been there. And the big change with Tortorella stressed. The Knights have been trailing, it seems like in 75% of their games. They give up the first goal. They're always coming and fighting from behind. That has changed the last few games that they've played. But if Utah can get out front and get a 1-0, 2-0, 3-1 lead, this Knights team might fall back into that pattern they've had the entire season.
The NBA playoffs. We still got the final, the final games tonight, which we'll talk about in a second, and then we go into the official playoffs, minus the play-ins, which are the playoffs, etc. However, as of 14 and a half minutes ago, if you were a voter, neither of us are, your ballots had to be submitted for the end of the season awards for the NBA, which will be announced starting in about a week and a half and go all the way through May. They're like baseball. They roll them out one after another after another. So a couple of the big ones. I'm betting nothing's changed with MVP. Last time we did it a couple weeks ago, Steve, you and I said SGA. I think you would have had Cade Cunningham then second if he would have been eligible. He is eligible now, but it was still SGA. I'm still with SGA. Are you still with SGA?
No doubt. I am with SGA as the MVP of the league.
And I don't care who's second, by the way. That to me is not relevant.
You're not first, you're last.
Just a couple others that always jump out. Is there any? When we talked about it first, there were a lot of people have decided on Rookie of the Year, but that's close. But is there any chance that Wemby doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year?
I felt Wemby should have won Defensive Player of the Year the first 2 years he was in the league, and I'd give it to him right here. I don't think any player on defense in the NBA comes close to the shots that get altered. I mean, you saw Jokic throwing up a shot that hit the rafters basically in order to be able to get it over him and in an effort to score. No one alters it. You look, I think he's 3.1 blocks per game. The next closest is 1 point something. I mean, it's all like 1.6. It's almost 2-1 over the second closest in blocks. Wemby, to me, has been and still is the best defensive player in the NBA.
Since I alluded to it, we'll just jump. There's only two others. Rookie of the Year for like so much of the season. Oh, there's no chance it's not Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag. His jersey went for $1 million. And you said no. I actually are. So where are you? You had to vote 16 minutes ago. If you had a vote, was Cooper Flag your guy, or did you stick with
it's Con Kneppel. I think it's him. I think what he's done and how he's helped transition once they figured out how to mesh and play together with the Charlotte Hornets. We're seeing them. They are still alive. The Dallas Mavericks are not. And I kind of got tired of down the end there. The Mavericks really went to Cooper Flag garbage time. We're going to get him his points. He's putting up 25, 30 shots a game, whatever it is, because they want the points. I don't think he had an outstanding rookie season by any means. I don't think he helped his team a whole lot. They were a bad team the entire year. Yes, you can blame injuries. I just think they padded his stats, and that made it to where I thought he was right, kind of close. I've kind of gone to, I think Cooper Flag season much more was about garbage time and trying to get him the Rookie of the Year as opposed to winning, and that falls into that tanking. And what Kneppel's done with the Hornets, to me, has been outstanding because this is a terrible franchise, as we've talked about. And he has really made them fun to watch, relevant, and changed everything in Charlotte.
The other one I highlighted tends to be a little more convoluted in the NBA to me than the other leagues. And this is why all these leagues make you vote before the postseason starts, so that you can't just go, oh, well, okay, we'll go with the championship team. Because what do you judge it on in the NBA? Is it based on expectations? Do you ding them because they have all this talent? Where do you fall on Coach of the Year?
Man, that's
right. right away. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I said was, oh, man.
that's a tough one because I kind of want to go to Detroit because Detroit won the East. Nobody saw that. But you did see Detroit coming along, and they were good. I'd like to go to the Spurs, but Wembayana, and we know that they've kind of put things together there. The Celtics, this was a great coaching job for the Celtics coach because everyone had with Tatum hurt for the years what they thought, and then trading off all their players. This was a full rebuild for the Celtics, and I have the Celtics going to the finals. So his coaching job was incredible. Um, Honestly, I would probably go to the Celtics because of
So
just what they have done, and no one was fully expecting to that full extent.
totally unofficial and an anonymous straw poll, and not all voters. Not all voters. But ESPN came out with the most people said Joe Mazzulla of the Boston Celtics as their coach of the year because the way they recovered after losing several critical veteran players last summer, and the realignment of the roster, the Jason Tatum issue. Ultimately, hey, everybody a year ago might have been saying Celtics, they're fine, they're great. Well, he had to coach them up. And you mentioned the other two that plopped into the top three. Again, totally unofficial. Who knows how they'll vote? Bickerstaff for the Pistons second, and Johnson for the Spurs third. And when I saw it without looking, I said Bickerstaff first, and then I did the same thing you did. I kvetched over, well, wait, what about the Spurs? And it took me a minute to get to the Celtics, and I said, that is really hard to argue with. So I had no problem with any of them, but that one makes sense. What is this? Why do I have this here? I don't know. All right, now, before we talk about tonight's game this weekend. I guess everybody's doing this now. The NBA, I mean, they have already been doing this. It's just like a weighted blanket on me every time I have to read one of these. NBA is sending Denver and Indiana to Mexico City for a regular season game on November 7th. It's the 35th game in Mexico. Like I said, fine. They've been doing it. I know. Other than the U.S. and Canada, no nation has played host to more NBA games other than Mexico. They will also play regular season games this year in Paris and Manchester, England. That's next season for the NBA, as all these American leagues try to get into. And I think the NBA is more suited for it with all the international players that keep coming over to play in the NBA.
I agree with that. You see that the European players have really taken over the NBA as the top stars in the league. Uh, Europe has a great basketball program over there with several of these leagues, unlike the NFL that doesn't have anything. I mean, the NFL tried to start up their European Football League. It was a total bust. Nothing ever came out of that. So I understand the NBA's part with that, with playing, overseas and building on that relationship. And to me, it does make sense. I still don't see it in the NFL. The one that makes the most sense to me is baseball. I mean,
Right.
you have these baseball players from all the different countries that play. Baseball's the one that should be looking at doing a lot more. And I don't want to see it. I do not want to see it. And I don't think it works for scheduling purposes. But
Yeah.
but baseball is the one sport that really is more of the worldwide sport, followed closely by basketball. Football, nowhere close.
Speaking of your Detroit Pistons, which we were a moment ago, the two games tonight begin with Charlotte at Orlando, and whoever wins goes to Detroit on Sunday. You've been high on Charlotte. You also said after Wednesday's game, you said, well, don't sell Orlando short here. So, first of all, tonight with Charlotte at Orlando, and then as a Pistons fan, are you nervous about having to face either one of them, and more so maybe Charlotte?
I think people have been listening because they're all over Charlotte. They've gone from 2.5, they're up to 3, 3.5 now, and where you're at. Go Magic. One game. Please find how to hit from outside in order to score and keep up. Go Magic. I, as a Pistons fan, do not want to see the Charlotte Hornets in any way.
Okay. The other game tonight, both of these are on Amazon Prime, so screw you if you don't have Amazon. Golden State's at Phoenix, and then the winning team goes on to lose to OKC. We talked about this yesterday. It's like you're not. Neither one's going anywhere against OKC.
No, neither one's going anywhere. And the thing that surprised me is this is another line that has gone up. You're seeing now 3.5s on the Suns. Not a lot of love for the Warriors out there, even with them winning the first game. Right now, people are backing the Suns.
When the Los Angeles Lakers open their first round series against the Rockets in Game 1 tomorrow, Saturday, all indicate against the Rockets. I don't know if I said that. All indications are it'll be LeBron and no one else. But LeBron, first of all, well, he doesn't get a patch. He gets half a patch. He will tie Karl Malone and John Stockton for the most playoff appearances in league history with 19. Congratulations. He's looking forward, though, most of all. Well, not most of all. Sorry, that's me interjecting. He does say he's looking forward to a new experience in the postseason, sharing the court with 21-year-old son, Bronny. LeBron said yesterday, quote, he's earned it, he deserves it, and he'll be ready. Has he? Has he? I can't comment if he'll be ready, but has he earned it and does he deserve it?
Has he earned it and does he deserve it? And I'm going to jump to his shoe deal that he has some Bronny shoes with the B9. He did apply for the trademark for it and he was denied. So I'm curious to see where it goes. Bronny hasn't deserved anything. He hasn't earned anything in the NBA. It is solely because of his father. I wonder if LeBron is going to come back to make the playoffs one more time so he can get one additional patch that he can add to his uniform,
Right.
because he will now have more postseason appearances than anyone. And I think the patch collection really works for him.
In terms of on the court earning it, in the Lakers' final 6 games, Bronny averaged 7.2 points on 47.5 or 47.2% shooting, 1.8 assists, a rebound that was in 17 minutes a night. He missed the South Bay Lakers playoff run last month while being called up from the G League to fortify the Lakers bench. He didn't play in March Madness in his lone season in college. So in terms of postseason experience, you go to his 2 playoff games against the Timberwolves last year where he got 4 whopping minutes combined at the end of games 1 and 3. So he's definitely earned it. So let's just
and I also still in my head and those LeBron and Bronny fan lovers, I'm sorry, I still have when the Lakers late in the season said, look, we're going to let Bronny run point, and he brings the ball up and turns the ball over 3 straight times. That video is still in my head. So sorry if I'm a little too critical on Bronny.
So if we go out of order tomorrow night, the night game, it's the only one on ABC. The other ones tomorrow are also on Amazon Prime. The Rockets are at the Lakers. When it was Bronny and Luka and Austin Reeves, a lot of people believe this was a great matchup for the Lakers. Can they even make it a 5-game series? The LeBron show at least gives them 1.
Well, maybe the Lakers can win a game, but no one's giving the Lakers to win a chance to win here. They're sitting at 5.5-point dogs, and they have home court here to get in the first round, a home game to open it, and you're a dog in the series. The Rockets are, $6 favorites to win this series. Lakers really don't have any shot.
The 3 other games, so they're all on Prime, and we start early for the West Coast. Tomorrow morning, Toronto is at Cleveland. You got Minnesota at Denver, and you've got the Hawks at the Knicks. What's the standouts there for any or all of the games?
Yeah, please, Cleveland, live up to your potential. Do what you need to do and find a way to win. They're an 8-point favorite here. This series should not be close. Cleveland should win it easily. I think you said the Hawks, Knicks. I think this is going to be a little bit tighter series than people think. Knicks are sitting at a 5.5-point favorite there. I want to say the Knicks, they have more talent. They are a better team, but this Hawks team has been feisty the last little bit of the season, and that'll make it interesting as well.
Are people being too romantic about Minnesota at Denver? Are they looking too much to like 2-3 years ago? Because a lot of people are really hyped up about this, whereas others are like Denver's got them outmatched.
I think this is hands down the best matchup in the first round. I love the Nuggets, their experience, but this Wolves team, I was on them last year. I'm a fan of what the Wolves have done. They just haven't played consistently enough for me. But the thing that worries me on Denver here is Denver's defense is middle of the pack, if not a little worse They're not a great defensive team. And if, Anthony Edwards, etc., Julius Randle has fit much more into this team this year, Naz Reid has kind of stepped back and hasn't been as big of a factor. If Minnesota can put it together and capitalize on that poor defense by the Nuggets, I think they have a shot at winning it. But I still like the Nuggets. I still think the Nuggets will win this.
We'll go back to the baseball field after this.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, "We need to make a dump run." Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or, you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story's incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A microseal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes microseal this way, with a bunch of AI words. Microseal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sunfade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. What AI is trying to say is that microseal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and, although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact a longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply microseal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had microseal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. Microseal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about microseal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com. AdvantageSteam.com.
For them, every day is a must-win. Huh? What does that even mean? Back to Rob and Steve. Email the show at res@theradnetwork.com.
So here's a fun thing, and Steve, just so you know, I can't hear you at all right now, and it's not even a technical issue. It's a headphone issue, and it's not even a headphone issue. It's a cord issue, and we've been fighting with it today, and I've been able to keep you somewhat in my ear, but I hear nothing right now. I don't hear anything. And we've been trying to figure out how do we do this last segment without being able to hear each other, which is not really the kind of show we do. I'm going to keep playing with it here. I'm going to give you a chance to comment. Just know that I probably won't be able to hear you, and then we're going to figure out if I can get this fixed. So yesterday, in his 11th Major League start, Parker Messick took a no-hitter into the ninth inning, faced one batter, more than the minimum through 8 innings before, is it Leody Taveras? I don't know. Led off the ninth with a grounder that just eluded second baseman Juan Brito. He made a great dive. He went after it. Got a single. Blaze Alexander got a line drive single. They took out the rookie left-hander. Messick, he's 25 years old. He walked 2, 9 strikeouts through 112 pitches, 78 for strike. So he was at like 100 pitches with a no-hitter through 8. And at least they let him go out and take a shot at it. And he's a rookie. What a great experience. He didn't get the no-hitter, but pretty early in the season to already have our first fun one. And I can hear you right now for the moment.
And it was fun. I was watching that game on TV. He was sharp. He was hitting his spots. He was keeping the hitters off balance. I was glad that they allowed him to continue going. And it isn't just one start here. Messick, he's given up 3 runs in almost 26 innings on the season. He has been outstanding for this Guardians team. He showed the potential that he has. I was glad it was a legitimate base hit. Yes, it wasn't the line drive, over the infield, but it got through. There was no doubt it was a hit. Then they gave up another hit. Glad they left him in, and it was time to take him out because they made a little run on them. Baltimore did late, 2 runs in, 2 runners on, I think it was, when they finally got the last out.
That would have been the worst part, is if the kid throws 8 no-hit innings and gets a no decision because the bullpen can't bail him out and loses the game. So a non-incident incident after the end of the Giants-Reds game yesterday, when Eric Miller, the closer, he strikes out Sal Stewart, rookie for the Reds. Giants win, shutout 3-0. And Miller's a big guy, 6'5", he's a lefty, and he did the thing that a lot of relievers have done since the beginning of time. I don't know if I'd call it over the top, but he was very excited and, fist pump and all that, and he's going to his dugout. Well, Stewart didn't like it, so he starts going towards Miller. Miller's catcher, Bailey, intercedes, and then Miller uses the international signal for go back to your dugout. That would be the middle finger. The bench is kind of ambled out, right? They didn't really clear and nothing really happened, but it was enough to get people going, kerfuffle, not. It didn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah, the players. Is it one of the, hey, game's over. There's no reason to charge the mound, go out there now. Yeah, what difference does it make? Stewart's a young ball player as well. I think emotions got the best of him, but allow the pitcher. The pitcher's young. Let him celebrate a little bit. He could have done like the little finger pointing or whatever. You see the other guys. Who was the closer who used to like shoot the arrow up into the air? So relievers have had those. The Eckersley would do the pump, and
Yeah.
it's part of the game. And just I don't like to see players show other players up, but you still have to allow them to have their celebrations in big moments.
I didn't think, I don't know, Steve, I just watched one clip. I didn't think what Miller did was a big deal. And you know what? Hey, Stewart, if you don't like it, don't strike out against him. That's the other way to go.
Right. Put the ball in play. Hit a weak grounder to short. You're still going to be out. It was up to him to do something with the at bat. He struck out. I don't think it was over the top. So just let's play ball.
What a week for Mike Trout. We started with the Mike Trout versus Aaron Judge thing, and then he crushes a solo homer in the 7th yesterday as the Angels beat the Yankees, who can't figure out what they're doing yet. 11-4. That gave Trout a homer in 4 straight games and 5 total in the series because he went deep twice in that opening game when it was him and Judge. Trout is the first visiting player to homer on 4 straight days at any version of Yankee Stadium in history. And he's on a torrid 6-game stretch. Wouldn't it be nice? I know he's in purgatory with the Angels. Wouldn't it be nice if Trout could stay healthy and give us a full Mike Trout? Wouldn't it be great for just baseball if we could have Mike Trout for a season?
It would be great for baseball if we could have a full Mike Trout season. The Angels still won't make the playoffs and they'll still continue to flounder, but it would be fun to watch because he is one of those players, the generational type player that was so good, was always, for those 4, 5, 6 seasons, whatever it was, without a doubt, the best player in baseball until Shohei Ohtani showed up. But it would be nice for the thing that surprised me is no road players ever hit 4 home runs in a 4-game series, one each day type of thing in Yankee Stadium in history. That kind of surprises me. There's been a lot of good hitters that have come through that can hit for power, and no one's ever hit one in each game of a 4-game series against the Yankees. That's an impressive feat by Trout, and I hope he can stay healthy. Just give me, I'm not even saying play 160 games. Give me 140, and I would be happy.
On that note, unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to leave it. I wanted to go over the streak meter and the games this weekend. Oh, of course, right when I say that, my headphones come back. All right, we're going to keep trying then. We're going to keep trying. The streak meter. Tigers, they've won 6 in a row. How you feeling, Boston Red Sox fan, Steve? The Tigers are coming to town today, 4:15. You got to have Apple TV if you want to watch it. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for your Red Sox?
Red Sox got to find some consistently and get something done. Tigers riding a 6-game winning streak, playing really well. You look at this first game, and it's Casey Mize, who's more the weak link in that Tigers rotation against, Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez was their big signing. Many people feel the Red Sox overpaid for him, but the Red Sox needed this. They needed the stability. He had a good outing the last time. He needs to step up here. The problem is when you roll into Saturday, Sunday, you get Tyrek Skubal going against Brian Bayo, and that's heavily leaning towards the Tigers. And even on Sunday, you're going to be looking at Framber Valdez against Garrett Crochet. Valdez finally had a good outing in his last outing, but Crochet, that's the outing. He gave up like 10 runs and just got shellacked. You have to believe he's going to bounce back. If he doesn't bounce back, don't be surprised if something comes out after that start of an injury somewhere, oblique, whatever it is. But if Crochet gets lit up again, I think it has to do something with an injury. So I'm hoping for the Red Sox, but it wouldn't shock me if they only win 1 out of the 3.
The Tampa Bay Rays, meanwhile, they are a game and a half up on the New York Yankees. They're at 6 in a row, and they're in Pittsburgh for the week. That's a fun series. Those are 2 fun teams to watch. That's the other Apple TV game today, by the way.
It is. Tampa's gone to the small ball, although Junior Caminero has hit a couple of homers his first 2 of the season in the last 2 games, but they like to play some small ball there. And then Tampa goes home against Cincinnati. So we're going to see some Pirates and some Reds against the Rays. That will be a lot of fun. You got Nick Martinez, who's thrown the ball really well against Bubba Chandler tonight. I'd like to see the Rays get that one. Then you got Drew Rasmus, who's coming back, but Paul Skeens on Saturday. Go Skeens, shut him down. And then Shane McClanahan, Mitch Keller. This is 3 great matchups from both teams in this. So this series hopefully will be as exciting as it appears to be.
The $4 billion Padres have won 8 in a row. Somehow they're only a game behind the Dodgers. And they play the other LA team, the Mike Trout-led Angels, tonight, which usually you kind of be hanging it right on the Padres. I don't know that Trout can carry the Angels through anything, but it's a little bit of a mismatch talent-wise.
Yeah, but the Angels got the advantage. Matt Waldron's coming up and starting tonight for the Padres. He's taken the place of Nick Pivetta, who was there. And the Angels have their ace. Jose Soriano has been outstanding. I think his ERA is like 0.5. It's somewhere down there. It might even be like 0.4 something. He's been outstanding. If they're going to pull a game out, this is the game they have to pull out. Trout is hitting the ball 4 straight homers. Let's make it 5. But then after that, then it kind of falls off. Although Herman Marquez goes for the Padres. I'm not a big fan of this guy. He was with the Rockies for many years, just really not a quality. But Kikuchi has been terrible for the Angels as well. And then you roll into Sunday, and you're looking at Michael King against Reed Detmers. I think the Padres have the advantage in this series. Angels going to get one. They need to get it tonight.
We were talking yesterday about the Mets and looking at their schedule moving forward. They're now down 7-3 in the fifth to the Cubs. They've lost 8 in a row. And you just wonder at what point does something big happen in New York, because they are in last place. Granted, only by 1 game technically, probably by a game and a half here in another, hour or so. And the Mets are just spiraling down the toilet bowl. And the neither New York or Steve Cohen or anyone is going to tolerate this much longer.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. The media, the fans, they're really, really getting frustrated here. Don't be surprised if the Mets go and they fire their hitting coach. That's that first step. I still think Carlos Mendoza's all right, but they got to find a way to score. They're not doing anything. Even their pitching's not holding up. So I wouldn't be surprised if after this series, if they lose 2 out of 3 or get swept by the Cubs, that the hitting coach is the first one to go.
That's so typical. All right, the A's are tied for first. They just went back and forth with the Rangers, and the A's get what should be the gift of the Chicago White Sox coming to town for the weekend.
You really have to hope that they can capitalize on the White Sox. Aaron Savali, who's been really good for the A's, is going tonight against Davis Martin. Martin's a good young pitcher with the White Sox, but the A's are the better team. Then they got Eric Fed against Luis Severino. Severino's got to figure it out at home. I mean, he has struggled this year. He got bombed in his last outing. Severino is too good a pitcher to allow this stadium to get into his head, and he needs to rebound, earn some of that money that he's making. And then on Sunday, you're going to get Noah Schultz against Jeffrey Springs. We talked yesterday how the A's are really high on him. Noah Schultz, to let you know, he is the number 1 prospect for the White Sox. He came up, he made his last outing was his debut. He's 6'10". This guy is reminding a lot of people of Randy Johnson, not just because of the height at 6'10", but that helps play into it. But he throws 98 to 100 miles an hour, and you have no idea where the ball's going. When he can throw strikes, he's tough to hit. But this is Wild Thing again. So that could be an exciting game on Sunday.
19, 20 games into the season, the A's are tied for first. Meanwhile, the other team, kind of sort of associated all the time, the other Bay Area team, even though the A's are playing in Sacramento now, the Giants are tied for last with the Colorado Rockies. They have won 4 of their last 10. They're throwing Logan Webb tonight at the Washington Nationals, but this is another team. It's not fire sale time or panic time like the Mets, but we do keep talking about the Giants, how much longer this is going to be tolerated.
Yeah, Logan Webb has struggled to this point. He's given up 15 runs in 24 innings. He's supposed to be the ace. He's one of the better pitchers in the big leagues. They need him to step up. They got to find a way to win this game tonight because he's their only bright spot really in that rotation. Outside of Landon Roop, who's pitched really well as well. And I shouldn't say that because Robbie Ray is right there and he's had a good season. But I'm ready to burn the Giants down. I really am. This is a team I thought was ready for the playoffs. They just, and good outing yesterday, 3-0 win, but man, they just disappoint on so many different levels. And Rafi Devers, this guy has been awful. Thank you for taking him off the Red Sox hands. I know you and I discussed that a little bit, and you're like, you can't be serious that you were glad that Rafi Devers got traded away back when it happened. But I was happy there. I think he's a bad third baseman. He had a bad attitude with the Red Sox at the end. He wasn't willing to play first base or do what the team needed, even though he signed that monster contract. Once you sign the monster contract, you have your money. That's when I feel you need to be more of a team player because, look, you're getting your money. Let's do what's best for the team because I'm already getting paid. And he just has done nothing for the Giants either.
if you missed it, the theme of the show was there's a ton of sports this weekend, starting tonight and all the way through. We'll be back on Monday to talk about all of them.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's Really Mean Lawyers is prohibited. So don't do it.